This is an opportunity that rarely ever comes along, and I'm putting my own money where my mouth is. More than ever, we just need the investing public to filter out the noise and look at the hard data.
Welcome back, everyone, for another Virtual Investor What This Means segment. My name is Janine Thomas. I am CEO of JTCIR, and I will be today's moderator. So we are featuring Moleculin Biotech and the Annamycin opportunity, and I am pleased to be joined by Walter Klemp, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of the company. Welcome back, Wally.
Hi, Janine. Great to be here.
So before we get started, I just want to inform our audience that Moleculin Bio is listed on NASDAQ and trades under the ticker MBRX. And during today's discussion, the company will be making forward-looking statements, and actual results could differ materially from these forward-looking statements. Some of the factors that could cause actual results to differ materially from these contemplated by such forward-looking statements are discussed in the periodic reports Moleculin files with the Securities and Exchange Commission. These documents are available in the investor section of the website and on the Securities and Exchange Commission's website, and we encourage you to review these documents carefully. Okay, we're ready to get started, Wally. I know that you and your management team have been buying stock recently, and given the current trading range, you must see a significant opportunity. Could you explain what you and your team are seeing?
Well, Janine, I consider our stock to be one of the best opportunities in the market right now. I mean, covering analysts have our target price at around $30 a share, which would be, a 6x return or more on today's trading range. Now, I know that sounds decent, but I believe it's a massive understatement of the opportunity. My personal expectation is closer to 100x.
Okay, Wally, that is a huge disconnect from where the stock is trading now. How are you justifying this outlook?
Well, let's start with the data that we just announced. The inflection point for most small drug development companies is clinical data, and specifically clarity on whether or not the drug is likely to be approved given the performance indicated by the data. We believe the benchmark for approval in AML, as set by the last 5 new drug approvals, is a CR rate of around 21%. What we just announced is a CR rate of 50%.
So can you talk about the difference between CRC and CR and how those tend to correlate with patient outcomes on relapse-free and overall survival? And with Annamycin, you have generated 50% CR and 60% CRC, the highest compared to others in AML.
Sure. For people that don't follow this all the time, CR stands for complete response, which is accomplished by reducing the cancer cells in the patient's bone marrow to below 5%. CRI stands for complete response with incomplete recovery of peripheral blood counts. But it's important to understand that CR is considered the gold standard for measuring success. Now, CRIs are significant, but they're more situational. In some cases, with a bit more time and what we call consolidation therapy, we can see a CRI become a CR or be strong enough in its own right to support a curative bone marrow transplant. But since that isn't always the case, and because CRs represent patients who generally have a better prognosis, we believe, and so do most key opinion leaders, that it's really CRs that indicate the strongest drug performance in AML. And we believe our CR rate counts for a lot more than the other second-line drugs because we're treating all comers, not just the minority of folks who happen to have the right gene mutation. In fact, at our level of performance, Annamycin has the potential to help more than twice as many AML patients as all of the approved targeted therapies combined.
50% CR compares very well with the other therapies you've listed here on this slide. Now, I know the drugs you are comparing to here are targeting specific mutations, and Annamycin is a bit more like Vyxeos or Veneza in that it has broad application regardless of gene mutation. So first question is, how would a physician think about using a broad-acting chemotherapeutic with a well-known mechanism of action like Annamycin versus, say, a targeting therapy for IDH1 or 2 or KMT2A? And is there a desire to use the more broad-acting mechanism earlier or saving it for later?
Well, in the end, physicians want what's best for their patients. Treating AML is really a race against time. Patients usually don't have long enough to live to waste time on a therapy that's second best. If all other things are equal, physicians will choose the therapy that has the best chance to produce a durable CR for their patients. That's why understanding our data is so important. I mean, just because you have the IDH1 mutation doesn't mean you should have that therapy. We believe in a situation where the expected CR rate with an IDH1 targeted drug is 19%, but we can give that same patient a 50% chance of a CR with Annamycin. Annamycin wins, just as long as the potential side effects are manageable. And our experience with Annamycin has been just that.
Well, Wally, that's super impressive, and it sounds like it should bode well for Annamycin's approval in AML, but how does that translate into the kind of value increase you just mentioned?
Well, I think that's where investors may really be surprised by looking at the comparables. Now, in order to make this clear for folks, we just put together this new slide. And what this does is put side by side the major transactions and players in the AML space that are relevant to our positioning. Let's start with Vyxeos on the left. It was back in 2016 when Jazz bought Celator, the maker of Vyxeos, for $1.5 billion. Now, just a few quarters before that offer was announced, Celator's stock was trading for around $1. And this deal was cut pre-approval and was driven by positive preliminary data from their pivotal trial. Importantly, look at their CR rate, just 38%. And that was in first-line patients where you would expect a higher response rate. Now, next to Vyxeos, we've got venetoclax. This drug delivers $2 billion a year in revenue to AbbVie, and it was approved in AML on the basis of a 37% CR rate, again, in first-line patients. Now, there's no stated value for this drug since AbbVie doesn't disclose it, but if you apply their consensus revenue multiple, which is greater than 6x, that implies venetoclax is greater than a $10 billion asset. Then there is the 2021 acquisition of Idhifa and Tibsovo by Servier. They paid close to $2 billion for these drugs that are only relevant to an aggregate of about 20% of AML patients. And given their low CR rates, they should only generate CRs in about 4% of the AML population. Even so, we estimate that they're generating around $150 million in annual revenue. And we talked about these first three several times before, and they provide an important baseline for exit values in the space. But now let's look at the ones that we believe are right alongside us in terms of development progress. Cura, Syndax, and J&J's drugs 617, they're all competing neck and neck with each other using what are called menin inhibitors. These are targeted therapies that in a best case scenario could be relevant to 24 to 30% of AML patients. Now, their CR performance is running about half that of Annamycin and on a smaller relevant patient population. Yet both Cura and Syndax are currently trading in the billions. Syndax is farther along. They filed their NDA last December, but the drug performance is so low that Biomed Tracker has cut their approval chances by more than half. What's even more relevant to this discussion, though, is Cura. We believe that they are right where we are in the progress toward approval. They've completed their phase 2A and are ready to begin a pivotal trial, just like we are. So let me be clear. We see Cura and Moleculin as being in roughly the same place along the development timeline at the same time. Annamycin is delivering CR numbers that are almost double that of Cura's drug, and we should be relevant to nearly twice as many AML patients. Yet Cura is trading at a market cap of 1.5 billion, and we are trading at less than 1/100th of that value.
Say is, wow, it's just incredible that this kind of disparity exists right now, and it truly does seem like a rare situation and opportunity.
I know, Janine. Look, this disparity can't last. And it's why I've been buying our stock recently, and I intend to buy more. When enough of the right investors finally pay attention to what's happening here, I suspect the run-up could be very quick, much like it was for Celator when folks finally realized that Vyxeos was headed for an approval. When that happens for us, a lot of people are going to be asking themselves, how did I miss this?
Well, all I can say is I hope people don't say, how did I miss this? While I really appreciate you joining us today, this is extremely helpful for our audience. And this does conclude the Virtual Investor, What This Means segment with Moleculin. I want to thank Walter Klemp, CEO of Moleculin, for joining us today. And as a reminder, Moleculin trades on NASDAQ under the ticker MBRX. And if you like what you saw today, I encourage you to visit moleculin.com for more information on the company and to sign up to follow the company to receive their alerts, as well as follow their social channels to stay current on the latest information. And you can also visit virtualinvestorco.com for a replay of today's event, as well as our latest segments in our event calendar.
Well, look, thanks again for hosting this, Janine. As I hope you can tell, the passion here is real. I mean, this is an opportunity that rarely ever comes along, and I'm putting my own money where my mouth is. More than ever, we just need the investing public to filter out the noise and look at the hard data. Now, as always, we're here to answer questions and want to ensure that everyone has a chance to get on this train. So if you have follow-on questions, please email us.
Wally, you did a great job outlining the opportunity and can't wait to have you back. Definitely an exciting time for Moleculin.
Great. Thanks.